By the late 1940s, this youthful demographic had been given its own name, the teenager, and it was starting to demand some serious attention. By the early 50s, radio DJs were broadcasting record-hop dances live from high school gymnasiums. And before long, these shows would morph into full-blown R&B revues, featuring a dozen or so acts touring across the country and performing for thousands of screaming kids every night. Advertisers on Madison Avenue, smelling big profits, got in on the act, and by the mid-50s, there was a whole range of new products being marketed to teens, including music. R&B artists like Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, and Little Richard began writing songs specifically for teens about cars and girls and all that kind of stuff. And this was another new phenomenon in the music business. Soon, more and more R&B artists were crossing over to the mainstream pop charts. And with their success, record labels began to sign white acts with a similar sound. Bill Haley was the first of these to hit big. When his song Rock Around the Clock played over the opening credits of a movie about juvenile delinquents called The Blackboard Jungle, teens stayed in theaters all day so they could dance to it. A massive new musical movement had arrived, and with it came a new name, rock and roll. Rock's rise to glory reached new heights in 1956 with the arrival of Elvis Presley. With his greased pompadour haircut, his black leather pants, and scandalous pelvic thrusts, Elvis was the ultimate teenage rebel. Songs like Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock drove the kids wild and caused a serious backlash among parents who worried that their children were being corrupted. But Elvis also sang beautiful ballads, and with his picture-perfect looks and charming personality, he was the ultimate ambassador to bring rock and roll to the masses. Truth be told, the earliest rock and roll wasn't very pretty. It wasn't sophisticated, and it certainly had a rebellious streak. But to the teenagers of the 1950s, nothing sounded sweeter. In many ways, early rock and roll really was an extension of the R&B that Louis Jordan had pioneered a decade earlier. Like rhythm and blues, it featured hollering vocals, pounding backbeats, overdriven electric guitars, and honking saxophones. But rock and roll also included other musical influences, like the slap bass and the country twang of rockabilly.